Here are 3 quick ways that you can make extra money as a videographer this year. So let's just dive right into the video because I know you're itching to make some money. Tip number 1 would be to selling stock footage. Now I know if you're a videographer just like me, you have a lot of B-roll clips. In fact, you have a lot of B-roll clips that are just sitting upon hard drive, upon hard drive, upon hard drive. So why waste it and let it just go to complete waste? I'm pretty sure it was some good footage, right? Don't worry, there's a way that you can make passive income. Now this isn't going to be your main source or even a high source of income, but it's gonna be just extra money. But the good part about it, again, it's passive income. You can expect to make anywhere between $100 to $600 a month, but that's just on a low end. You can probably generate more just depending on what kind of footage that you produce to the websites. Now let me give you a list of websites that you can potentially post your work on. Number 1 being my favorite and honestly a well-paying one, it's going to be blackboxglobal.com. Now, a good thing about Blackbox, which probably makes it one of the best, is because when you post on their site, it's going to distribute all your footage across all different platforms. It's going to collect all the money that you get from the different platforms. Then they're going to take their fee. Then you get the rest. So to me, it sounds like a pretty good deal. You don't have to do too much work. The only downside is not very easy to get accepted. So if you do plan on trying to get approved for Blackbox, you got to make sure that you have really good B-roll stock footage clips because it's hard to get into. But nowadays, stock footage, they're mostly looking for just anything that's gonna tell a great story. So it can be like a teacher eating an apple, or a drone shot of some city lights, or an alligator running across the water, or swimming across the water I should say. Anything along that line, just something simple, but simple goes a long way. And a lot of people or companies like to use stock footage for purposes like teaching or educating. Now the second website is going to be for all my Adobe Premiere users, and it's going to be called Adobe Stock. So if you have Adobe Premiere, I'm pretty sure you probably already heard of Adobe Stock, but that's a great platform that a lot of people who use Adobe Premiere are looking for stock footage. Now, since Adobe Stock is integrated into Adobe Premiere, it just makes it a little bit more easier for you. Now, website number 3 is going to be called ArtGrid. I'm pretty sure you heard of ArtGrid all over YouTube by now, but I did heard from a friend who actually posted on ArtGrid that they do pay pretty good. It's probably one of the highest payings on this list next to Blackbox. But of course, ArtGrid, it being so popular, it being so oversaturated, it is definitely hard to get approved on. But if you can get approved, you can probably make some pretty good money if your footage is pretty good. Side job number 2 would be video editor. Now everyone needs a video editor, whether it be a YouTuber, a production company, or a corporate building. Video demand is very high right now, and you can expect to make anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 a month just off video editing. Now again, that honestly depends on who you're working with and how often you do it and your skill set. If you're a pretty good editor and you work with a YouTuber who probably wants a video out every single day, you can expect to make a lot of money. And if you're a filmmaker, I'm pretty sure you probably already edit your own videos yourself, so why not take your skill set and apply to somebody else's business? Side income number 3, and honestly this could probably be a very big portion of your income, it will be renting out your camera gear. If you're like me, if you're a videographer, a cinematographer, and you have a ton of video gear that you feel like you just wasted your money on that you don't use enough, and it's just sitting there collecting dust, go out and rent it. Now the income for renting video gear, it honestly depends on 2 very important factors. 1, what kind of gear it is, and 2, your area. If you don't live in a state or an area that is very high popular demand for videography work, then you're probably not going to generate that much income. For instance, I live in Orlando, Florida, and in Orlando, Florida, there's a lot of corporate offices, companies, businesses. It's very big, and video production company is very high demand in Orlando. Now, I have an FX6. If I was to rent it out in Orlando, I could possibly get more money and get it rented out a lot longer, being because of my area, versus if I was living in like Wyoming somewhere, or any other place where video production isn't as high of demand, or the type of gear that I have that I'm listing for renting is required. So like in Wyoming, my FX6, it being such an expensive camera, it probably wouldn't get rented out as much as it would in like Orlando or even California, where an FX6 will probably get rented out a whole lot because the production in California is very high. So where you live does play a big role on renting out your gear. If you live in like a less video production, less video oriented state, then your gear might not get rented out as much. But again, it just depends on what you're trying to rent. If you rent out some lenses like a Sigma or Sony lens or a Canon lens or a Panasonic lens, any lens like that, you can probably get a little bit more. But if you have higher end gear like a Red Komodo, FX6, C70, the Blackmagic Cinema Line cameras, anything along that line, you might not get it rented out that much. So it really just depends on your area and where you live. Now, a really good website that I love to sell my gear and post it online is ShareGrid. Now, the thing about ShareGrid that I love, they offer insurance for your gear without any extra cost to you, except for the fee that they charge you for posting on their website. So what's cool about that is if someone wants to rent out my FX6 right now, I'm not paying for the insurance. They have to pay for the insurance for the rental. So it's good in a sense if you want to post your gear really quick, but you don't want to have to worry about creating insurance plans and adding all that stuff. ShareGrid will do it for you. And again, with doing all this, you can expect to make anywhere between $500 to even $5,000 a month just off renting your gear. For me, I actually love this as an extra source of income because I made a video talking about all the gear that I bought that I feel like I wasted my money on because either I don't get enough use out of it, or I don't like it, or I feel like I cheaped out on it. So now I have the option to rent out the gear that I despise and do not like to someone else who actually likes it and will put a lot more use out of it than I would. Now I can make my money back. And if there does come a time where I do want to sell the gear that I've been renting, I can sell it. Now I just made rental money and I'm gonna make money off reselling it. So it works either way. If you liked today's video and you found it very helpful, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Without further ado, I'll see you in the next video. Abiantu, Banjoni.